Aloha! Welcome to today's presentation. We're talking about the firmament opening up. That's what the main focus is going to be today. Let's go ahead and just start things off by what I believe in. I'm just going to share with you my perspective based on my research and my experience in life and my feelings and some other things too. But I believe, as I said in one of our last videos about the firmament, that there's a solid barrier. Now I'll put some pictures up here behind me so you can see that there's our world, at least on the top, acts a lot like a snow globe. And that snow globe has a glass dome above it. It's not really glass, I don't believe. I believe it's ice. However, whatever people believe that it's made out of, one thing separates us from the mainstream. Those of us who look into the concept of a firmament or an expanse or a vault of the heavens, the highest, hardest glass ceiling, as it's been called. And the thing that separates us is that modern academics believes and teaches and indoctrinates people to think that it just goes on and on and on forever, that you can travel right through it, that you can pass through it. And we see them launching rockets up at it. There's even been nuclear bombs that have been detonated up towards the quote-unquote Kármán line, where space reaches, our atmosphere. So, is there a dome in the sky? I believe that there is. So the rest of this video is going to be me speaking as if that is true. And that's what I believe thus far. Welcome everybody in the chat. Hey, it's good to see everybody. Got the new credits all finished up for the end of the presentation. Now, before we begin, I would like to give a special shout out to Ashley Roberts, Casey Jacobson, Megan Larson, Hayden Molnar, Amberson A. Cat, Lynette Norton, Rebecca Hakel, and I just want to say thank you. These people signed up to my website, and some people got some lifetime memberships, and I hope that you enjoy that. My website has pictures and videos and audio and music that all matches these types of topics that we're going to discuss today. The firmament, the heavens having a solid ceiling above us, is esoteric. It's occult. It's an occult subject. And what that means is it means hidden. It's hidden from view. Physically, we cannot see the firmament at the moment. We can see evidence that there is a firmament, or at least I can. But there will come a time when all of the firmament in its glory will be revealed to us as the terrestrial beams of light shoot up out of the earth during an event that will reintroduce a massive amount and supply of oxygen into our world, which will give rise to gigantism, longer lifespans, and many other things as well. So, the concept has been forgotten. Out of sight, out of mind. We can't see it at the moment. We live in a dark city. So, because there is a covering up there that hides the heavens, that hides the heavenly realms, the Elysian fields, space, we don't see it. We see darkness. We see small glimpses. We see light that is able to pass through, creating focal points and projections up there in the heavens that we call planets, stars, the sun, the moon, and so forth. Occasionally that light will go out of focus, and it'll give us things like chromatic aberration or comets, which are portents of doom. They are harbingers of change, as the flux up there above of the celestial plasma, you could call it, that's outside of the dome, is moving about and hitting anomalous places upon the firmament itself. Because the firmament itself is not perfectly smooth or perfect in shape. It's not a perfect dome shape. There are inconsistencies. There are weak spots. There are quote-unquote craters or domes upon that dome. And whenever the light hits that, it will act in different ways here underneath where we witness it. All right, so hey, good to see everybody in the live stream. Let's go ahead and jump right into the subject matter. I'm going to play some slideshows here in the background. And these are kind of all set to random, but these will correlate with the presentation itself. Okay, great. So these are all going to be examples of the world we live on. I have an alternative cosmology. Okay, so I don't agree with the academic model, and I don't fit into any type of box in any type of community or anything. My views, cosmologically speaking, are constantly growing. They're constantly moving, and my view of myself and the world that I live in is constantly changing. I used to see the world as a spinning, flying, wobbling glob of nothing, floating through nothing, flying at ridiculous speeds, following a giant fireball through space. And I was an expert on the subject. I loved watching Jeopardy. I loved all of the trivia that I learned all throughout, 16 years of schooling or however long I went to school for. But I found it to be useless. I found it to be trivial. I found it to be only good for playing Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune or things of that nature. When I started to investigate the shape of this world in its entirety, not just the surface where we are, right? You've got different theories on that. There's hollow earth, flat earth, concave, convex, spherical, globular, pear-shaped. If you're Neil deGrasse Tyson, he says the world is pear-shaped. That's fine, whatever. I don't. But for me, just to keep it simple, I see the surface world as being the flat part of the of a snow globe, just as an example, and then the firmament would be the dome shape above it, right? I believe there's more to it because I think that our world physically actually connects to other worlds, going underneath, much like the stem of a flower or a mushroom that connects to a mycelial network underneath the ground and connects to other mushrooms as well. Now, let's start with some topics here. And I might just jump all over the place while we go. And I'm going to take some sips of coffee as we go too. Because it's also the 4th of July. Oh, don't let me forget to tie in the 4th of July. Because it's totally related to the concept of the dome opening, okay? Don't let me forget that. All right. Now, let's start with how is the dome made? Okay. In the beginning, how was the sky created? The limitation of our atmosphere, not the sky, which is space between our surface world and the physical actual dome. That's space. That's what space is. It's something that exists between two solid objects. I think we all can agree to that. That's space, right? Space is not something that's infinite, it just goes on forever and ever and ever. It's the space between two boundaries, or between boundaries. That's why it's called space. So I don't doubt that there are doomsday prepper type organizations that are related to ancient Nephilim and fallen angels that have passed on the secret of the firmament, the dome, the shape of the world, the apocalypse, paradise, all of these things, passed it along to their family members generation after generation after generation, and they have been preparing. They have been making the world themselves technologically ready to escape, ready and prepared to leave this world behind and to escape the apocalypse so that they don't have to suffer what is about to happen to our world. And they will find it very difficult to be in control once they do go through an apocalyptic scenario, should they choose to stay. And there's many reasons that we've covered here in the past about that. What is the dome made out of, right? If it's made out of glass, we would have to ask ourselves, well, what is glass made out of? Typically, it's sand that's been melted down. So there would have to be an abundance of sand way up there in the sky. I considered that for a while. However, it seems to me that gas is the... that's funny. It seems to me that gas is the most likely culprit. The gases that basically create everything that we understand. Chemicals, right? Elements, and those elements are building blocks. All you have to do is take electrons from one, put them onto the others, and you can create brand new elements, heavier elements. You can go from a gas to a liquid, or a liquid to a solid. You can go from a solid back to a gas instantaneously, skipping over the liquid phase. You can also do the reverse. You can skip from the gas stage to the solid stage instantaneously based upon the amount of pressure that is existent within that system or within that environment. And also, I'm going to talk about that little picture too. And also the temperature. And there's other factors as well. But those gases that are high up in our atmosphere freeze, right? Oxygen being one of them, but they freeze and they change into ice instantaneously. Pressure builds up in our world. We have pressure systems, we have weather patterns because of all of the pressure that's being pushed in on our world all around us. Queen wrote about this, and I'm going to talk more about lyrics, popular song lyrics, music videos and stuff that mention and allude to the dome. Movies refer to this. That was a picture that just passed. That was Doctor Who, right? Doctor Who, his whole home planet, this one right here, refers to the dome and cities under domes and all of the dome symbolism that exists within our media. So the pressure exists because there is a physical object, but the pressure also exists because of the magnetic field. The Earth creates a magnificent amount of magnetism, a bubble, if you will, that reaches out above it and creates that dome shape. That's the invisible that comes first, that gives rise and birth to the physical, which is the ice that freezes and conforms to the shape, or the gases that freeze and conform to the shape. So there is an invisible bubble or a dome of magnetism that goes up and around our atmosphere, reaching all the way down to the edges of our world and then going through and underneath our world as well. This gives rise to portals and stargates and doors and windows, both in the heavenlies and the inner terrestrial world. As you can see here, the columns of the earth, Sheol, the underworld, and whatnot, where beings will find it extremely difficult to pass through. One, because of the extreme amount of pressure that exists towards the edges of our world, just like a balloon. If you blow up a balloon, all of the pressure exists all the way around the physical portion of the balloon. At the center of the balloon, it's buoyant. At the center of the balloon, there is really no pressure. All that pressure wants to push against the edge of the object, just as the pressure in our world wants to press against the dome and our surface world and whatnot. So we experience a lot of pressure in this world that's pressing in on us on every side. We're used to it, so we don't recognize it. We're like the age-old the maxim about the frog in the pot, right? You put a frog in a pot and of water, and then you increase the temperature. The water slowly gets hotter and hotter over the time, but the frog doesn't notice the gradual change in temperature. So eventually the frog boils to death because it happens so slowly, and towards the end you can increase the temperature a little bit more and the frog will boil to death. Just as we are being crushed to death in this world. Our stature has shrunk. We're getting smaller and smaller. Entropy is exponential and our lifespans are shrinking. Disease is on the rise, and it's all happening because of conditions that are existent within this realm that we live in. It's not all humanity's fault. It's not that we are to blame because we're just the top, the cream of the crop and the top of the top. I like that. So anyways, the dome's made out of gas that is frozen into ice, basically. Now, another thing, because there is such a strong magnetic push, that dome of magnetism, the gases that are closest and highest up there are what is known as diamagnetic. There are two main forms of magnetism. Those things that are attracted to a magnet, which is called paramagnetic, or diamagnetic, which are those things that are repulsed by a strong magnetic or electromagnetic current. So many things in this world are diamagnetic. For example, water itself is diamagnetic. It's repelled by a strong magnetic force. The strongest magnetic force in this world, in this realm, is the sky, is the invisible magnetic dome that wraps around our world. That dome is not always here. The times that it's here are stable times. If you've seen Three-Body Problem, that's what they refer to as the stable eras or whatnot. The unstable time is whenever our magnetism or the electromagnetism of the world we live in goes into flux, and the heartbeat of the world, the Schumann resonance, all these things, they start going into flux and they start becoming erratic to the point of neutrality whenever the polarity of our world shifts and it reverses and it hits a neutral point. So we've talked about the dome, what it is comprised of, at least through my eyes. The dome is made out of ice. That ice can break. Okay, it can break. The magnetic portion of the dome keeps our atmosphere pressurized. It pushes everything in and it keeps it in. One day that pressure will be released and the sky itself will break open as all of the world's gases, our atmosphere, rushes to the apex of the dome, the very top, which is directly above the North Pole, right there in the center of the world, and blows a hole out in that ice, in that glass ceiling. Not only is there a giant hole broken open, but I believe that the Earth also, I found evidence that the Earth grows, that it's a living organism, and that each time it goes through an apocalyptic cycle, it actually grows, and immense cracks open up within the Earth, giving rise to canyons and whatnot, and other cavernous entrances, and stuff of that nature. All right, so the dome is made out of ice, I believe. That's what I present to you. That ice adds to the pressure. It helps to lock it all in physically. The magnetic dome keeps things pressurized spiritually or energetically, you could say, as it keeps away all of those gases that are opposed to a strong magnetic force. It's the invisible portion of that dome, which exists on both sides of it. Okay, so you've got magnetism on top of the physical ice dome and magnetism underneath the physical ice dome. These are your Van Allen belts. These are the areas of extreme radiation that NASA will refer to. You also have two different areas of plasma that are just below and just above that. The ones just above that are cosmic plasma, or these are the thunderbolts of the gods, and this is portrayed as Cthulhu or various sleeping, destroying gods, like Shiva and whatnot. And then just under that, you have obviously the northern lights. We can see those ones, right? So I believe that it is made out of ice. It's the ice wall. If it wraps all the way around our world as a contact lens, then around the edges, we should find places where we can meet the edge. And we can, I mean, not the edge like you fall off of it or anything, but where we can transition between the terra, or the terrestrial, the earth, the physical ground, and the ice, where the actual atmosphere, you start walking and it becomes so cold that the atmosphere in front of you just becomes a solid wall. Clearly, you'd have to have special protective gear, right? You'd want to be dressed up like an astronaut, essentially, to get anywhere near the actual edge of the world. If you go south in any direction and you continue going south, eventually you're going to hit the ice wall. Is it a vertical wall that comes straight up and down? My theory on that is that it's gradual, actually. I believe that the ice curves upward. So the earth actually curves upward at the sides. So it's kind of like the realm where we live is a crater, if you want to imagine it like that to help you out, okay? Or a bowl. So we live within this bowl. Around the edges are some of the tallest mountains in this realm, which is what we call Antarctica. That's where the bowl comes up. That's the lip of the bowl of our world, or represented by those like mountains on the side right there, right? You fill that bowl with water and whatnot, and all the highest places become continents and countries and things of that nature. But anyways, this is why they go out. This is why your government and the elite and the powers that be and Hollywood actors and people that seem to be affiliated with the Illuminati or Freemasonry or whatnot, this is why they make trips all the way out to Antarctica. And this is why we have these strange stories of experiences that people have had way out there in Antarctica. Excuse me, let me take a sip here. Okay, so pressure. You're under pressure. If you listen to the Queen song, they talk about how they won out, right? Under pressure. The Queen song talks about how they won out. Adele, Skyfall. Check out the lyrics to Adele's Skyfall. It's one of my favorite dome breaking open songs. That's what it's all about. And I'll probably read those. Let me type that in here as a note. Lyrics, and I'll type in 4th of July. So we don't skip any of that. So we got the ice wall, we got Antarctica. This is why in movies and fiction and sci-fi, they portray magic beyond the ice wall, or monsters that are frozen within the ice wall, trapped there. And one day, they're docile, or they're sleeping, or they're in a coma or something. And one day those monsters or giants will wake up, and they're always gigantic. On the other side of the firmament is our macrocosm. It's space, as you know, it's traditional space, but it's what I call the macrocosm, or the greater fractal verse, which are all of the worlds out there, right? And the conditions that exist just outside of the firmament allow for gigantic growth. Even if you ask, if you research the quote-unquote astronauts that blast up and they go into quote-unquote space, which is just the space between the dome, the firmament, and the surface world, they tell you when they get back, they grew like 2 inches or something. Like, they're taller. Well, imagine if you had beings that were fractal verse travelers, or the Anunnaki or ancient aliens or whatnot, that live out there for extended periods of time. Their color altogether would change. Their pigmentation would change, because they're not experiencing sunlight as we do under the point of focus that we call the sun. Their lifespans would change, not being subject to all of this pressure and degradation and exponential entropy. And damn, where was I going with that? Oh, and then they get bigger. It's gigantism. Okay, so all the creatures that the legends and the myths allude to that drop down out of the sky, whether they be animal type, spiritual type, humanoid types, they are almost always defined as, one of their signatures is that they are gigantic. They're huge. They're titanic in stature. They're at least twice as big, as tall and big as humans are today. So this gives rise to, wow, hey, what's up to everybody who's subscribing? That's cool. I'm honored. Nice to meet you all. So Antarctica, we talked about the pressure, the gas, the magnetism, diamagnetism, those things that are repelled, right? When that magnetic dome goes away during the neutral point, all of those gases are no longer held down or held back. So they rush up to the top, they blow out a hole in the dome. The entire dome itself, I believe, will crack, which gives rise to the projection of the dome that we call the moon up in the sky, appearing to split, appearing to be broken in half. This is also shown to us in many different movies and books and fiction. It's alluded to even in Islam, where the Prophet Muhammad was tested by non-believers to exhibit Allah's power. So he told the non-believers to watch the moon, and the moon split in half. And as tradition goes, the way it once was during the time of Muhammad, the way it will be during the times up until Judgment Day. People will witness the moon splitting in half, and then according to the prophecy in Islam, they say that most people during that time, which is the future, will just consider it to be magic. Basically, they'll consider it to be a trick of the eye or an illusion. What you're seeing is an illusion. Okay, like everyone will see the moon split in half, and no worries, it's fine. The Milky Way. So the Milky Way is also, and I have lots of these pictures on my website too. The Milky Way is, I believe, a rift. It's actually often referred to as the Great Rift. The stars are produced by weak spots, I'll say, on the dome itself. Okay, so the light hits these weak spots, these anomalies on the dome, and that light redirects and creates smaller points of focus called stars up there in our sky. The Milky Way. Okay, so the Milky Way, we have like this rift up there in the sky. The stars are giving us little glimpses. They're like little breadcrumbs of what this firmament basically looks like, where all the weak spots are on the firmament. That's why whenever the magnetism goes away and we hit the neutral point, all of those gases rush up to the dome itself. Some places will burst out. Some places of the firmament, there will be a main hole up there in the center at the quote-unquote eye in the sky. But there'll be smaller places where there will be miniature holes, and that ionized magenta-colored red spectrum plasma, which is ionized hydrogen, I believe, will go through those holes or those weak spots in the firmament, in the dome, and you'll see dragons entering into our world, or sky worms, fire worms, and it will look like the very stars themselves, which each one of those represents a weak spot in the dome, are falling. That the stars are falling to the ground, which is a prophecy in the book of Revelation in the Bible. How could the stars fall to earth if the earth is a glob of rock spinning, flying, hurtling through space, and all those stars out there are like billions of times larger than our world is? That doesn't seem reasonable to me. And so people will go back and they'll say, oh, well, the Bible wasn't being literal. You have to understand it, and you have to study the exegesis of the text, etc. It's being literal. It says the stars are going to look like they're falling down to the ground. This is also shown to us in your fiction, in your movies, your TV shows, where they show you the stars will suddenly streak. Okay? I'm not just talking about like a little dot will just look like all by itself it's moving. It'll look like the old this is an old Atari game, right? It looked like the old Atari game called Missile Command, where it looks like the stars are streaking down and they have lines behind them dragging through because it's plasma that's connected. There are filaments of plasma that are sifted through the dome itself like a cheese grater. Okay, like the cheese being put through a grater, right? All that cheese shoots on through. So, the dome, made of ice, acting as a mirror, as we did in our last episode, right? So, I want to touch on this, revisit it just real quickly. There's the rift, right? You can see that? I think that's one of the places where the sky opened up, which is what the Bible says. The Bible says that the heavens will recede like a scroll being rolled, right? The sky will open up. The sky, pieces of it are going to break off and fall down to the world. This is a good example of that too, those star trails. That's just time-lapse photography, but that's to give you an idea of what it will look like. Except for those will likely be magenta colored. So we talked about, the mirror, right? I want to talk about that too. So if it is crystalline in its nature, which is ice-like, then we shoot light up at it, terrestrial beams of light, which are the ionized gases that burst out of the earth during a great oxidation event, according to academics, and it lights up the firmament. It lights up the ceiling. You can see it in all of its glory, and if that's so, then it will also reflect the world down below and all of our countries and whatnot, and that helps me to understand why or how ancient cartographers who said they have never gone exploring the entire world or anything, how they could so accurately map out places like Antarctica without the ice, or, the edge of the world without the ice, or distant countries or far away places. Now, keep in mind that mirror is bent, okay? And it's bent in different places and in different ways. But overall, in general, it's a bowl shape above us, okay? But there's also an inverted bowl, and there's some other shapes going on as well. So, some of those drawings, if they were indeed looking up at the heavens, and then the heavens were just reflecting our very world back to us, some of those drawings we would expect to have inconsistencies, as people were just drawing it how it looks to them in the sky, or they were trying to interpret it, right? But anyways, that's the mirror. So that's the passing through the mirror, going into Wonderland, going into Never Neverland, going into distant worlds. Once you pass outside of that barrier and that boundary, you will be within a massive plasma filament. And by filament, I mean a tunnel, okay? This is your Einstein-Rosen bridge. This is actually what it is. There is a black hole, which is a hole is an opening in a physical object, not in space, not in nothing, okay? There's no hole in nothing, okay? That is a hole already. Anyway, you have a black hole, which is the hole that opens up in the firmament. Beyond that, you will see this swirling of the plasma, quote-unquote, tubes that exist outside of our world. And people will go through those. If they are protected, they'll survive, and they can live, and they can travel through those. And those filaments, those tunnels, connect to other realms because they act as conduits to transfer information or substance, which is also information. DNA and, everything. So anyways, that's the mirror. That's going through the mirror. So this is why you see so much through the looking glass, going through mirrors. I feel like that's the quintessential traveling through the mirror to get to other worlds or other Earths, other versions, other variants of our world that we live in, where there are probably other variants of us. Now, I want to comment on this one right here. I will comment on some of these from time to time. This is from the Stephen King television series called Under the Dome. So what you saw there was all of the, so this dome descends or appears over this city. Okay, so they're showing you a small scale of the actual large world that we live on. This dome appears over this city called Chester's Mill, and it's magnetic. So when people get too close, they realize that all of their metal flies off and it attaches to the dome. It hits the dome, right? Because it's a huge amount of electromagnetism flying through this frozen dome barrier, because it acts and is a superconductor. I mean, it's a super duper conductor. I don't know if there's a, that's a step up from our little superconductors that we have here on Earth. But the Earth, the dome itself, acts as a superconductor, which means it can instantly transfer electricity all across it. It's extremely electrical in nature and magnetic in nature. So we talked about the ice wall, Antarctica, monsters and giants that live beyond or up there in the sky, because that's where the dome is, right? That's Jack's beanstalk. That's the whole story. The whole plasma apocalypse of terrestrial beams of ionized gases being released from deep within the bowels of the Earth and shooting up through cavernous systems in arrows or columns or lines or pillars or whatnot, and touching the heavens and spreading out as they touch the heavens. That is the reed that grows from inside, from the realm below us. That is the ladder that shoots up that angels travel up and down on. That is the beanstalk that Jack climbs, right? It's Yig. It's actually Yggdrasil. It's Jack is the word Yig as well, or Eek, you could say. Anyways, it's Jack and Jill, all of that. Jack going up the beanstalk, and then there's a giant up there, right? That's the realm of the giants. So gigantism exists beyond the sky, essentially. Music video, Black Hole Sun. Now, I broke this down, but I want to check it out, actually. Do I have time to do that? Maybe. Real quick. Let's see if we can get it in real quick. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to pull up Black Hole Sun, the music video. I just want to comment on it as quickly as I possibly can. I'm trying to go quickly right now because I'm going to pick up my son soon and we're going to go do some fireworks and stuff. So forgive my rushing through the presentation here. Okay, I'm going to mute it. This one, you will get a copyright strike if you play this video, I swear. All right, let me share this here with you. Screen capture, is that it? Boom. All right, Black Hole Sun, for pow. Let's get rid of this one. Bam. Where's this one? Bam. Show it. Do it. Make it happen. I don't know why it's not working. Hold on. Damn it. All right. On the fly. Let me hook it up here. This will take 10 seconds. All right. We're going to do screen capture. Bam. We're going to add a new one. For pow. We're going to go over here. Bam. All right. Sweet. I got it up. Now let's put it behind me. And we should be good to go. And we are. Right on. All right, cool. Wow, 660 people watching. That's awesome. All right, so check this out. Now, this is the opening of Black Hole Sun. This right here is the shoulder of a Titan. This is the neck that's going up. These are trees or something on the neck or whatever. But this is a Titan that they're showing you, okay? I don't actually want to play this because they're very, very picky about it. They're showing you the Black Hole Sun all throughout the video. All the religions come to an end. The red roses, painting the roses red, Alice in Wonderland symbolism. The great carnation, the great rose, is that the flower of the sky, okay, which the Illuminati use this red flower symbolism quite often. People will be going about their business, mowing their lawns and attending to their daily needs, happy as can be because they live during the time of the gods. And then this has to do with nitrous oxide and whatnot, and how people will be very high because of all these gases that are being released, and how those gases mix with other gases, and it's a creation event. So there's a lot of different gases that are created. I'm not going to go, I do have a full video breakdown of this, okay? But mostly I want to get to the sky portion. The sky turns red, okay? So we go through this color spectrum shift. We will no longer have, for a long time, what we call the focal point, or the sun. The sun's going to go away for a while. The there will still be luminaries up there in the sky, but most people won't be able to see them for a long time because of the depressurization that causes mist, which gives rise to Stephen King's Mist. I always thought that was Nicole Kidman, didn't you? That always seemed to me like that's the whole Joker face thing too, right? Anyways, these people are all staring up at the chandelier, which casts little points of focus, which is the stars. So they're staring up at the ceiling, imagining that they're looking through it, like one of those eye posters. What are those eye ones? You look through them and you can see like an image. Well, that's our world. That's the ceiling. Okay, NASA and your governments have taught you to look through the firmament and the darkness and imagine that you can just keep on going and you're mesmerized like this grandma right here is. And they stare up at the ceiling all night long, but it's really just a chandelier up there that's casting lights and stuff. People are mesmerized by their televisions. Chris Cornell singing about the black hole sun, which this concept came to him in a vision. This represents our sun, the point of focus that will start to actually get hotter and burn everything on the ground. And this whole song is saying, I want you to come. Go ahead. I want the apocalypse to come. This world's terrible, represented by all these world's religions and just perversion in the world itself. Let's skip ahead here. All the bees. Oh, the lizard people. Hold on. The people will burn up. Oh, there it is. Boom. So that's what I was looking for. So this is the actual black hole sun. This is what's called the doom shape in ancient texts and scriptures and writings. This is often referred to during the Middle Ages as the doom shape. It's a shape that portends doom. The word doom comes from the word dome. Like, there's a book called the Domesday Book, and it's really the Doomsday Book of all the people. They took a census of all the people who survived after the last cataclysmic scenario that happened, and they call it the Domesday Book, which is the Doomsday Book. This is the doom shape up there in the sky. You have an outer ring and an inner ring. That outer ring is actually an inverted dome that faces downward, right? And then there's a depressurization point in the middle. In this, you'll see all this stuff gets sucked up into it. Here, I'll replay that. Welcome to my channel. I didn't see who that was, but welcome. Let's see if I can catch it again. Man, let's see if I can catch it. Man, I don't want to I don't want to get hit. Hold on. There it is. Okay, sweet. So all this stuff gets sucked up into that black hole in the sky. Man, I'm scared to play this video, man. They got me last time. They got me. Anyways, that's the firmament, and it's opening up, and it creates what's known as the doom shape up there in the sky. The spectrum, the color spectrum in our world turns to a red spectrum. All the lights light up the firmament, and the firmament behind it has ionized hydrogen, which is a red spectrum when it lights up. Let's see. I need to move on. I need to move forward. So I'm going to put this down for just a second here. I'll put those pictures back up for a bit. Bam. Oh, it's my book. Yeah. That's my new book I just came out with. Let's see. Man, hold on one sec. I'm nervous all of a sudden. There's a lot of people watching for some reason. All right, slideshow. Boom. How do I get this down? Screen capture, down. Go away. Now, why is my book up here? Get that down. Pow. All right, sweet. And then slideshow. Pow. All right, we'll run the slideshow. All right, next up. So we talked about the pressure that is created by the magnetic dome and by the physical ice dome and barrier as well. High five to everybody. We talked about the ice and how the gas can transition directly into a solid form, turning into ice. We talked about the ice wall, Antarctica, monsters and giants. High five to everyone subscribing right now. The Milky Way, the Great Rift, the hole in the sky. There's the story of Chicken Little, where Chicken Little's running around saying, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And then all of the people, all the other characters are like, oh, you're stupid. That was an acorn, or that was, you know what I mean? We don't mistake acorns for the sky. Okay? There's truth to Aesop's fables. There's deep truths to these myths and these legends that are represented in cartoonified story form. And they're echoes from an ancient forgotten history, our forgotten and hidden history, our forgotten past, or what I call ancient oblivion. That's a true story, the sky falling, and its sky will fall. It will break open, not all of it. I believe that parts of it remain intact. Much of it remains intact, but there are parts that break off and will float down. It floats down instead of falling down because of an increase in buoyancy that happens whenever all of that pressure is released and all the atmosphere leaves. According to Archimedes' principle, however much fluid is displaced or however much atmosphere leaves our world and escapes will be equal, as far as a weight goes, to a new force or weight that pushes up from below. It'll be equal to a new buoyant force that will essentially make things float. Now, speaking of songs and lyrics and things floating, I want to share with you the lyrics to this Dave Matthews Band song. When the World Ends by Dave Matthews Band. I want to share the lyrics here. Now, there's many songs like this, and if you know of some, feel free to post the lyrics. I love reading about the song lyrics in the presentation. Damn, there's a lot of people watching right now. Welcome, everybody. I'm honored. Now, it says here, this is Dave Matthews Band. It's called End of the World. When the world ends, collect your things. You're coming with me when the world ends. You tuckle yourself up with me. Watch it as the stars disappear to nothing. The day the world is over, we'll be lying in bed. I'm going to rock you like a baby when the cities fall. We will rise as the buildings crumble. Float there and watch it all. Floating. That's the depressurization of our atmosphere and the increased buoyancy. It allows all objects to float for a while, especially considering the massive amount of wind that will kick up during a worldwide tempest after the sky blows open and the atmosphere is getting sucked out and eaten by Kronos up there in the heavens. So things float, objects float, water will definitely float. If you're inside of a building and that building isn't destroyed or anything, then you should be safe inside of your home. You'll just float around like you're Mary Poppins, you know, visiting her uncle or whatever that scene was from Mary Poppins. We will rise as the buildings crumble. We will rise. He's saying physically people will float up into the air. This is your rapture event. Man, everybody's subscribing. How cool is that? High five to everybody. Float there and watch it all amidst the burning. We'll be churning. That means spinning around. You know, love will be our wings. The passion rises up from the ashes when the world ends. Dave Matthews goes on to say, when the world ends, you're going to come with me. We're going to be crazy like a river bends. We're going to float through the crisscross of the mountains. Now, this is interesting too. There's a crisscross up there, up in the sky, because it's reflecting paradise below, which has 4 rivers that crisscross each other. That's why people sometimes see it in the moon. There's ancient reports, especially from the Anglo-Saxon chronicles, that people have seen a cross in the moon. Or even the story of Constantine, the emperor, who saw this heavenly cross up there in the sky. That's a reflection of the 4 rivers of paradise. Okay, going on. I'm going to finish up this Dave Matthews Band lyrics. Let's see. He says, through the crisscross, he says, we're going to float through the crisscross mountains. That's the Sipapu, that's Nibiru, that's the opening up in the sky, that's Kronos' mouth, that's Medusa's face, etc. Watch them fade to nothing when the world ends. You know that what's happening now. You know that's what's happening now. I'm going to be there with you somehow. I'm going to tie you up like a baby in a carriage car. Your legs won't work because you want me so. You just lie spread to the wall. That's the firmament. Oh, this is also reflected in that song Trampoline by Shayad. Have you ever heard that one? I've been having dreams, jumping on a trampoline, flipping in the air. I never land, just float there. As I'm looking up, suddenly the sky erupts. Flames alight the trees, spread to falling leaves. That'd be funny if I got a copyright strike for singing that. Anyways, let's continue on. Lots of music. Please post yours in this video. If you have lyrics to songs that discuss the sky opening, the sky falling, the dome, the firmament, the pressure that it creates, all of those things, please do share those with us. Now, I'm going to continue on to how this affects there are implications. If we do live in a pressurized world that has a physical barrier over it, and that barrier from time to time opens, and there is a depressurization the world across, there are implications to that. That domino will affect and fall upon others that affect what we call reality and change our reality and what we call normal in this world. Sound is one of those things. When you have sound within a high pressure environment, it sounds better, it sounds more crisp and more clear, and it can travel further when you have a lot of pressure. That's because all of the elements within the atmosphere are much closer together, so those vibrations they travel along those elements. But when you pull those elements apart, and the atmosphere depressurizes and there's fog and mist in the way and all these things, your world becomes a quiet place. Exactly like the movie that was shown to us, the movie called A Quiet Place. That's why you have, elements of fog mixed with otherworldly monsters and all of that, right? But it actually becomes a quiet place. One, all of the frequencies that are put off by all of our electronics and our technology, they're gone because our technology will be destroyed, and it will be left in giant rubble piles and trash piles and garbage piles the world across from the debris that didn't get sucked out and falls back down to earth. That those things that did not sink back down into the mud or become petrified or blow up or whatever happened to have made it. Steampunk survivors, I will call them. Okay, those who after a while come up onto the surface, they're starting to learn how to survive once more, and they come upon giant piles of rubble or relics from our age, from this time right now. They will come upon relics, and some of the survivors who are from our age will know what those relics are. Some will recognize them. They might not know how to recreate them, so they will try to reverse engineer the technology to gain power, to get one up on the post-apocalyptic world where they live. Some things will require gas, like automobiles that may still be intact or whatnot, but that will be limited and in limited supply. Many and much of the technology or those relics will be repurposed. They'll be used for a different purpose. But anyways, my point is, it will be a quiet place. There won't be all the technology. It won't be as many frequencies and sounds. It will be the sound of nature, and it will be difficult for us to like yell, vast distances and have people hear us or whatever, because it'll be more quiet, because there's less pressure in the atmosphere. Okay, it's the acoustics. It's how acoustics works. That also means music will change. Like the vibrational frequency of music will change. It will no longer sound. If you played the same record today in the post-apocalyptic world, it would sound completely different. It would probably be, I'm guessing, be a lower pitch. I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but the pitch of the music would be different. And that pitch changes as more and more pressure or gases are released in our world over time, or in more creatures are born into this world and stuff. So music and actual frequency changes. The sound of the music we listen to gradually changes over time. Just like, remember the frog in the pot. Okay, the temperature is gradually changing over time. The color spectrum is gradually changing over time. Sounds and music are all gradually changing over time. Hey, splashing the popcorn. All right, next up. Oh, sinuses. I want to talk about sinuses too. So because there's all this pressure under the dome that we live in, when that pressure is released, if you've ever been driving high up in the mountains and you feel like nails are being driven into your brain or something, or your ears are clogged when you're inside of an airplane, and or you go down into deep waters or something, and you feel like your ears are plugged up, or you have like pain, or sometimes a nosebleed, or there's a lot of pain in here, like just behind your eyeballs, or it feels like your brain has spikes in it or something. That is an effect of the pressure differential between the pressure that exists within your cranium or within your head, right, and the pressure that is outside, right? We are built in such a way that we can relieve pressure. Our jaw actually helps to do that. Okay, so when you open up your jaw, or like people say chew gum, to help you out on an airplane or driving high up into the mountains or whatever, when you move your jaw around, especially if you yawn or things of that nature, it opens up a little cavern in your ears. Okay, I'm just speaking generally, but that relieves the pressure. It equalizes the pressure between the pressure inside and the pressure outside. So if you don't, and there's a sudden, rapid pressure change in the atmosphere in the world around us, it can have dire effects. So please do remember this. You may find this to be useful when there's loud sounds and you're holding your ears and your head hurts and your nose is bleeding and stuff. You need to pop your ears. Okay, basically you need to pop your ears. Otherwise you could go deaf. Your nose will bleed. This leads to, the whole psychic nosebleed, because after the nose bleeding comes psychic abilities, because our world has an influx of energy for an entire age. People develop telepathy and other things too. That's the symbolism of the psychic nosebleed at the very least. But also people can bleed from the eyes. They can bleed from the ears. These are all of the sinuses that are ruptured basically due to the severe change in pressure between the atmosphere and your head of what you're used to. All right, next up, that leads to fog and mist. We're almost done here. Fog and mist. So whenever, if you watch on my website, I actually provide many video examples of cabins, of airplane cabins inside of an airplane that's high up in the sky, and they pressurize and depressurize the cabin of the airplane. When they change the pressure, mist just all of a sudden appears within the cabin of the airplane, right? There, I've got one example is like a C-130 cargo plane. Another one's like a commercial aircraft. They have switches in there where they can just change the pressure. When they do that and there's a rapid change or differential in pressure, then it rips apart the atmosphere and it creates mist. It creates fog the world across. So in Islam, they say that the world will be covered in a smoke. And in all of your pop culture and movies like Stephen King's The Mist is probably just the best example of a movie showing this to you. There will be clouds that just roll in as the biggest, most massive low pressure system the world has ever seen, which is a tempest, a world storm. They will all be circulating in the same direction with little anomalies. Excuse me, one moment. Let me just turn this down real quick. Okay, thank you. Anyways, a huge low pressure system. So the temperature will drop. It will get colder. There will be mist and fog all over the place. It will be difficult to see. There's going to be winds all over the place. Things and objects will be floating around just for a short time until it reaches equilibrium. Then they'll float back down. Okay, as the buoyancy reaches an equilibrium and allows things to settle back down. Those things that do settle back down will weigh a bunch less, however, for a long time. Let's see. So we talked about mist, the fog, the monsters that come out of the fog, because there's otherworldly creatures that I call phantozoids that also make an appearance at this time, that come up from within the earth and they drop down from the sky as well. This is whenever NASA will leave. So the Doomsday Preppers, that's NASA and Elon and all of them, they'll leave. They'll blast off. You'll see rockets and you'll think they're fighting aliens. At least that's how it's just portrayed to us or whatever. It's not hard to imagine people will think that aliens are attacking us and this is the big alien reveal or whatever. And that's not far from the truth. There will be alien creatures that also come into our world, but probably not purposefully to take it over or anything. It's just that they're exchanging places. You know what I mean? However, some may be purposeful. So the sky is made out of ice. It's reflective. It's the mirror that people pass through in order to go to other worlds or other Earths or other timelines, you could say. Weak spots in the dome we talked about. Some lyrics. I want to read Skyfall real quick by Adele. I have a lot of these songs on my website too. All right, so Adele sings Skyfall. This is from the Bond movie. She says, "This is the end." That's how the song starts. It's about the apocalypse. They're very blatant sometimes. They're very direct. This is the end. Hold your breath and count to 10. The whole holding your breath thing, a great example was shown to me in the movie Take Shelter. If you haven't seen Take Shelter and you're interested in this topic, do go see that movie. Especially if, everyone else is telling you, that'll never happen. Oh, there's no apocalypse. That's stupid. Okay, right? Watch that movie. She says, hold your breath and count to 10. This is shown to the main character in the movie Take Shelter whenever he has these prophetic dreams. He's dreaming of the apocalypse. He's dreaming of the dome breaking open and depressurizing. They show this to you in Leave the World Behind whenever they hear that sound, and this is all over the movies. Hold your breath and count to 10. You're going to have to basically hold your breath, or you're going to have to really focus and control your breathing. A tip is focus on a happy thought. Okay, I'm not even lying. Focus on a happy thought, something that helps you. Let me explain myself. It'll be like trying to breathe in a vacuum or sticking your head out of the window of a very fast moving car. It sucks the air out of your lungs. So it's actually it's hard to breathe in. It'll require effort to actually breathe air in and get it. That's why I have oxygen bottles and stuff on supply for me and my family. But anyways, they show this to you in the movie Take Shelter, where everything floats, and all of a sudden this guy's like, you could tell he's like holding his breath, right? He doesn't want to like have the breath taken away. This is an event that takes your breath away, okay? Like, this is an event, people's hearts will fail them, people will be freaking out, as it's said in the Bible and other religious books. So, Adele, talking about the apocalypse, talking about the sky actually breaking open and falling. She says, this is the end, hold your breath and count to 10. Feel the earth move, and then hear my heart burst again. This is all prophecy that's been written of thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, time and time again, cyclically. Feel the earth move. There's going to be, so whenever the atmosphere depressurizes, the world will correspond with earthquakes as well. So the earth is being pressurized, and that pressure will be released. So not only does the atmosphere expand, the earth also expands. So this is the earth growing, and huge craters, not craters, crevices, canyons and whatnot, cracks open up in the earth. You're already starting to see this in the form of maybe not the earth growing, but releasing all of those gases, and sinkholes are appearing all over the place because of the gases that are being released right now in preparation for this birth of the light of the world. She says, I've drowned and dreamt this moment. So overdue, I owe them. Swept away, I'm stolen. Let the sky fall. When it crumbles, we will stand tall and face it all together. Let the sky fall when it crumbles. Skyfall is where we start. So that's the apex of the dome. Directly underneath that is where people enter into this world from above or below. And that's also where some people go back to paradise to survive. Hey, Jim Donovan, big donation. Thank you, Jim Donovan. 1,000 miles and poles apart. So she says, Skyfall's where we start, 1,000 miles and poles apart. This is not talking about way over here on the ball and way over here on the ball or off to the edges. She's talking about the pole. The South Pole is the apex of the dome. That's the true South Pole. It's directly above the North Pole. They're right. The North Pole is right below the South Pole. It's right above you. I mean, you could technically also say the whole dome is the South Pole or whatnot. But anyways, we'll face it all together. Let the sky fall. 1,000 miles poles apart where worlds collide and days are dark. The world above collides. It opens up and things are released into our world and things from our world are released into theirs. This is what it's like when worlds collide, to quote a song. What else? What else? Okay, I think you get the gist of that one. That also reminds me of an older song, Stand By Me, right? When the sky that we look upon should crumble and fall, and the mountain should tumble to the sea, or whatever. That's all about it as well. Start looking with Plasma Apocalypse vision, Ancient Oblivion vision at these lyrics to these songs, and man, it'll blow your mind. It'll be a whole new meaning. That's all I got for the lyrics. The 4th of July. Let me just touch on that before we go, since it is the 4th of July, and I've got a couple more minutes. I got about 5 or 10 minutes, maybe. Matter of fact, I got enough time to take another sip of coffee. Pat S., welcome to my channel. Welcome to everyone who's been subscribing lately. I don't understand why so many people are lately, but I accept. Thank you. It's an honor. All right, so we're going to talk about the 4th of July real quick. And that's where we'll end things for today. I'll roll the new credits after that. But all of our holy days are based around the apocalyptic cycles. Every single one of them. The destruction cycles and the rebirth cycles that our world goes through. Our holy days correspond with our seasons. Our seasons shift. Every time we go through these apocalyptic cycles, what used to be winter will no longer be winter. Winter will shift over a bit. Summer will shift over a bit. This is why we are lost when we wake up in the post-apocalyptic world. We don't know what time it is. We don't know what year it is. We don't know what day it is. We have nothing of substance to go off of to keep track of where we were compared to where we are, or when we were compared to when we are. The stars may be, look different. The luminaries look different. The earth is terraformed. The seasons shift and are out of place. The electromagnetism of our world has completely flipped around. North is south and south is north, which is actually how it is now. When we go through that next reversal, north will be north and south will be south. But right now it's the opposite. They just don't tell you that. So our holy days, they are holy days. They are set apart times. They are times of reverence and respect, where our ancestors were told, for a very specific purpose, you need to gather together during these times of the year, because something will happen, or it could happen during these moments, during these seasons, during these times, which is typically the solstices. The solstices will also shift, okay? So sometimes the solstices are on the solstice. After other apocalyptic cycles, the solstices become what we now call the equinoxes. They shift, okay? So anyways, the people were told to gather, to be in a safe place. They wanted their families they wanted to ensure their families would be safe. They would have candles lit. They would have lights. They would be prepared. And they knew to watch the luminaries, because on the solstices, the luminaries should stop, or the sun should stop, that's why it's called solstice, and move in the other direction. So they kept track of it. They drilled holes into megaliths that lined up with where that position should be in the sky on that day. And if it wasn't there and it was further, they knew it was transgressing its boundary, which is sinning or doing wrong. And that leads to an apocalyptic scenario. So they were told, gather together, make sure you have provisions, make sure you have food, make sure you light lights that will stay on for a long time, logs and bonfires and Yule logs and these types of things, so that you can prepare. Because if that happens and you don't see the sun in the right spot, about 2 weeks later, after the solstice, so our solstice recently was June 21st, about 2 weeks later, and also take into consideration that the 11 days that they added to the calendar, okay, our calendar here in America at least, and all over, I think it's all over the world, skipped 11 days, okay? 11, 12, sometimes 13, it depends on how long it took the countries to catch up to that change. But they added close to 2 weeks of extra time. So if you go 2 weeks from the solstice that we just left, we arrive at the day the sky bursts open. The day that people see the fireworks and the colors up there in the sky, all of the plasma. That is the birth of the start of time. That's the new year. Okay, that's why the new year sometimes is in right around this time in some countries. And other times it's right around the winter solstice. That's why people shoot colorful, fiery lights up into the heavens, because that's what happens. If it doesn't happen, then on the day that it's supposed to, and that's supposed to be the new year, they will make it happen, and they celebrate, and they have their own version of the sky exploding down here on the surface. But that's why 2 weeks after the summer solstice, people light fireworks. And the sky explodes. That's why 2 weeks after, approximately, the winter solstice, it's the new year. People light fireworks, and those are the two main times in the year that people will shoot fireworks off into the sky. Whew, buddy, man. Okay, I gotta go, and I'm gonna go enjoy my little celebration with my son. Thank you all so much for subscribing. I saw all the people subscribing and stuff. Go check out my other videos. I got lots of cool playlists about the same and similar subject matter. I've got 2 books. One is Ancient Oblivion, The Plasma Apocalypse. The other one just came out. It's called Ancient Oblivion, Return to Hyperborea. And my website, JayDreamerZ.com, has all of this and more. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.